Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel, Ask Jimmy Smith. Today, I'm excited to be able to bring to you another video. This one's going to be a little bit more granular, more specific to account health and some of the changes that are happening within the account health dashboard for Amazon sellers throughout the United States specifically, and then into 2023, it'll be worldwide rollout. And so today's title is going to be on Amazon Seller Central Account Health changes, and the dashboard is changing, but it also gives much more visibility for sellers, which I actually appreciate these changes. I think that they are good long term. It's more of a points-based system than the just generic healthy, at risk, and in danger kind of generic titles that they give it currently. And so these changes are actually taking place now. There's an article I'm going to show you and start off with that was from back in July, whenever these started to the information started to come out on it. But recently, I know a seller that got an email that said, hey, these changes are going to take place for you in 7 days. I've seen some new sellers that actually have these changes now, and I know a bunch of other sellers that don't have these changes. So I wanted to make this video. It's not necessarily an urgent thing, nothing to freak out about. I actually believe it's good because you're going to get much more visibility into the things that Amazon ultimately wants to see from an account health perspective in your account. They've kind of gamified it, so to speak, right? They give you points whenever you're doing good, and they take away points whenever you get a violation. And then if you get them removed, then you get points back. So I think it's a kind of an interesting setup that ultimately is going to be for the better of the sellers out there currently. So let me go ahead and pull up this article. This was from eCommerce Bytes. This was back in July 21st, 2022, talking about Amazon giving sellers a new holistic metric to check their account health. And ultimately, it's helping sellers diagnose their account health with a new holistic metric so they can see if their account is in danger of suspension or for accumulated policy violations. Currently, it shows healthy, at risk, or unhealthy. By the way, I'll put a link for this article in the description of this YouTube video. So if you want to go read it, feel free. I'll also put links to any of the other Seller Central pages that I'm going to show you here in a minute if you'd like to click through and read those yourself. But in 2020, Amazon launched the at-risk and critical designations. So I kind of forgot that was a change. Back whenever we started in December of 2015, selling on Amazon, there really was no visibility. You'd just get performance notification flags that ultimately you'd see show up. You'd freak out for a minute. Your heart would start beating faster until you clicked in and saw what it was for. And now, back in 2020, they changed it to the at-risk and healthy or the unhealthy designations. And now they're giving us more visibility by doing it on a points-based system. Now, they do have a spokesperson here in this article that I really appreciate some of the insights that they gave. So this was by an Amazon executive where he said, the account health rating enables sellers to better understand exactly where their account health stands, better prioritize potential issues, and ensure that their account status remains healthy so sellers can focus their energy on selling products and growing their businesses. So right now, it's much more just generic, right? You may be healthy one day and you wake up the next day and it's at the at-risk stage, or you wake up the next day and it's at an unhealthy stage, and you really have no idea when you're creeping closer to those points or not. You're just kind of crossing your fingers, hoping for the best, saying your prayers that nothing changes, and then you wake up and see if it has or hasn't. Whereas with this, yes, some major changes can happen overnight, but ultimately you will have a point-based system so that you know that you have some time to address things. You know where you're sitting according to Amazon's designations, and I believe this is going to be a huge help. And I'm going to show you what this looks like here in just a second after I finish going through the article. Now, the help page, which I'll go through here in just a minute, kind of talks about some of this information as well. So the account health rating is a color-coded score that ranges from 0 to 1,000. It provides near real-time status of your account health, letting you know if your selling account in a particular store, so US, UK, Canada, Mexico, etc., is at risk of deactivation. Upon detection of any new policy violations associated with your selling account, you lose points. You gain points when you successfully address those violations. And so this gives you the ability to see, okay, wow, I lost 50 points today because this was a serious violation, or I lost 5 or 100 or whatever it ends up being. And whenever you successfully address them, then the points get added back. Now, in some cases, I'm interested to find out as we move forward, is it successfully addressing a violation if you just agree to the fact that the violation occurred and you say it won't happen again? Or do you have to actually get them removed for you to gain points back? Or maybe you get half the points. I don't know exactly yet. And so this is more developing. I believe they give some good information in one of the articles that I give you, or that I'll show here in a minute on the Seller Central pages. But that's where I'm a little bit lost, is how many points do you get if you successfully address a violation? And what does that actually mean in Amazon's eyes? But the beautiful part of it is now we'll actually know, right? We'll have a deduction of points, and then however we resolve those claims, we will get an increase in points. So we'll know, wow, we lost 50, but we only gained 20, for example, whenever we agreed to the fact that it was a violation and that we won't do it again. But we got all 50 points back whenever we fought it and ultimately got it removed from our account. So I'm interested to see how that's actually going to play out once this comes out and rolls out to all the sellers. But I think ultimately this is a good change for everybody. Now, to ensure your account health is evaluated in the context of the size of your business, which is very important, right? If you're doing $10,000 a month or $1,000 a month versus somebody doing $1 million a month, then it makes a big difference, right? Because the person doing $1 million a month may get 10 violations, where the person doing $10,000 a month should get 1. So it really depends, but we're going to be able to see that within the account health rating. Points are also granted when a minimum number of orders are filled, which is interesting. All new sellers, so if you're brand new, you're going to start with a score of 200. And over time, sellers will see a score that accurately reflects their account health based on policy adherence and selling activities over the last 180 days. So a 6-month time period, which they've done that for a long time. They've done the 6-month time period for a while, but ultimately this is something that's good, because you'll get a good visibility of where your account stands. And if you're new, you're starting at 200, which I believe is the cutoff point for green. If you go below 200 to 100 points, I think, and we'll see it in a second. Oh, wait, it's right here. Let me just read on. If your AHR is green or healthy based on a score of 200 to 1,000. So all new sellers will start out at the 200 point. So they're going to be in the green whenever they start out. That means that your account is not at risk of deactivation based on the policies comprising the score. Now, if your AHR is yellow or at risk currently, based on a score of 100 to 199, so if you're below 200, but the minimum of that is 100, your account then is at risk of deactivation. And when your AHR is red or unhealthy based on a score of 99 or lower, your account is either eligible for deactivation or already deactivated. So you really want to make sure that you stay above 200 as much as possible, because that's in the green. Now, I don't know if this is a mental thing or if this is actually accurate, but I do like that there's 800 points of green, 100 points of yellow, and then basically you're deactivated if you go below that. So you get a lot more opportunity and there's more wiggle room, is how I will view it. We'll see how that actually comes into play as we move forward with these policies that are changing. Now, in calculating the AHR, Amazon assigns a certain number of points to each policy violation based on the severity of the violation. So a critical violation, a high violation, medium, and a low violation. By considering factors such as the degree to which the violation negatively impacts the customer experience, and whether the policy violation contravenes applicable laws and regulations. So if you're violating any laws or regulations, it's going to hurt you a lot more than if it was something that isn't quite so serious, and Amazon is just letting you know about it. So we'll see how that actually plays out. I believe in one of these articles, it shows what those critical issues, high issues, medium, and low issues actually are. And so we'll get to that here towards the end of the video if you want to see that. In addition, violating the policy more than once can be dire. Now, for some of you, that might freak you out, because I think there are a lot of sellers that have more than one policy violation in their account. And, this sounds a lot scarier than I hope it actually will be. We'll see, though. Maybe it'll actually start becoming a bigger issue as we move forward. But I believe that this gives us better visibility. But here's what they said. Multiple violations of the same policy impact your account health in 2 ways. First, the point values associated with violations in your account health rating increase each time that policy is violated. That means the repeat violations will cause your AHR to degrade faster, with higher severity repeat violations having the most impact. So let's say something's worth 50 points and you get a second. Well, that second one is worth 70 points. And then the third one is worth 100 points, right? And again, these are just examples that has nothing to do with your actual policy, but that is how it's going to work if you're getting repeat violations that aren't getting successfully addressed or handled. So that is the key point, is if you're successfully addressing something, it's not going to hurt your account, if you get a second one or any more, but it will hurt your account if you get a second one and you haven't successfully addressed the first one. Now, second, your account may be at immediate risk of deactivation if you reach the maximum number of repeat violations for infringement-related policies or restricted products policies in a 180-day period, regardless of your AHR. In most cases, the maximum number of repeat violations is 5 for infringement-related policies and 2 for restricted products policies. So to me, that is a very telling number. I've never heard that before. That might freak some of you out. And so I do have recommendations for either Jeff Schick as somebody that does account health, or you can check out in this YouTube channel, I have a playlist where I sat down with Scott Margolius, who specializes in account health. You can reach out to Scott Margolius as well. His website is ecomsellertools.com. Jeff Schick is also another person that does this stuff as well. And I believe his website is jeffschick.com. So I'll put those links in the description. I'll look them up and put them there for those of you, just so I make sure I have the right ones. But that is a telling number that in most cases, the maximum number of repeat violations is 5 for infringement-related policies, I assume, that are unaddressed, and 2 for restricted products policies. Now, Amazon will begin to roll out the new version of the account health rating in August to sellers in its US and Canada stores. So we are past that point, and I haven't seen many people talk about this. And it'll go to its sellers in its other worldwide stores in 2023. So I'm thinking they're probably starting to roll it out now based off the email that my friend received about it. But and I'll show you that email here in a second as well, so you can kind of know what to expect. Amazon talked about it on their corporate blog, etc. They explained how a new version of the account health rating was a response to feedback from sellers. So here's where they kind of explain that. So first, rather than a list of policy violations that could lead to suspension of their account, sellers have asked to understand exactly where they stand overall. The new account health rating is the holistic metric and will be a determining factor for account suspension based on accumulated policy violations. Second, if there are any outstanding policy violations negatively impacting the account health rating, a seller will be able to see the level of severity for each violation, ensuring that they are prioritizing the most important issues first, which is very important to know which ones are hurting your account the most and how many points those are taking up. And then third, sellers have asked for more help in adhering to Amazon's policies. That's why Amazon makes it easy for sellers to contact the company anytime. Okay, yeah, I don't know if that's actually true, but we'll go with that. To contact the company anytime they need support or have questions, and Amazon's team of dedicated account health specialists is ready to support sellers over the phone or via email in getting their account back on track. Now, I have actually called account health in the past a few times. They do typically answer. It's 50-50 whether they're actually helpful or not. In my experience, hopefully this will help address that issue as well, because we'll know how many points something is worth, and maybe they can actually help us more fully for that problem. But that third point is about 50-50. It's Amazon saying stuff that may or may not always be true for Amazon sellers, but still, they're working on it, and it has worked for me in the past whenever I call them and they actually help. Now, let's look at what this will actually look like. So this is the example of what it's going to be. So if you're a brand new seller, your account health rating will look like this at a 200 point. You can see they've separated it. 200 to 1,000 is its own little section. You've got 100 to 200 or 100 to 199 is its middle section, and then anything 99 or lower is where you're going to be deactivated or pretty much imminently deactivated. It's interesting to me that the first 200 points, though, are half this graph. I think that's kind of interesting. It should be 20% of the line, not half of it. But either way, I found that kind of interesting. So if you're at 200 or higher, it will say healthy, and it'll give you that information. I'm not sure how it's going to look on the individual policy violations, but this is a very important graph to see kind of what it looks like. And maybe you already have this, maybe you don't, but I know that we haven't in our account. And so, I'm expecting it to pop in there sometime soon. Next screenshot that I've got is that email. So you can see it kind of gives a lot of the same information that I just went through. Amazon's trying to give us more transparency into the account health status. These features will give you peace of mind, allow you to spend more time growing your business and delighting customers, and less time worrying about your account health and potential disruption to your business. talk about the score, healthy, at risk, unhealthy. This is what you can expect to see whenever they're going to roll it out in your account if they haven't done so yet. They're also displaying the degree to which any violations you might incur impact your account health, allowing you to prioritize addressing those that are most negatively affecting it. And then here's where they said, for my friend, beginning 7 days from today, your account may be deactivated if your AHR score is red or unhealthy. So luckily for this person, it's not. By looking at your policy adherence holistically, we are hoping to create a predictable and consistent experience for you to manage your business while still maintaining a high bar for Amazon customer experience. We encourage you to go to the account health page and look if it's at risk or unhealthy, address any open issues that impact your score before the 7-day period ends to avoid potential deactivation. And then, yeah, they're going to continue to work hard to help us and make it easier to monitor account health and performance, etc. So very simple, straightforward, to the point warning email from Amazon. Hey, if you're at risk or unhealthy right now, you better get ready and work on these things over the next 7 days before this new program hits your account. I don't know if this is going to be a huge rollout to everybody. I haven't seen many questions in the groups and forums that I'm a part of, my private replens Facebook group, etc. I haven't seen anybody ask questions about it. So I believe they're probably slowly rolling this out to other people just so they don't get inundated with a bunch of cases with seller support and problems from sellers. But ultimately, this is something to expect moving forward. Now, Amazon does have a policy page, the account health rating program policy here. You can see they talk a lot about the account health rating. We kind of went through quite a bit of that. The AHR impact by severity. So to calculate your AHR, we assign a certain number of points to each policy violation based on the severity of the violation. There are 4 severity levels: critical, high, medium, and low. So we already talked about that. They also consider factors, including the degree to which the violation negatively impacts the customer experience and whether it contravenes applicable laws and regulations. So this was directly put into that article if you want to go back and see that. They discuss the repeat policy violations, which is, to me, a very important thing that we need to always keep in mind, because if you're getting repeat policy violations, you must address them. Otherwise, you're going to be significantly at risk. And then they give more resources on this page. One of those is the frequently asked questions page, which I believe is very helpful in showing a bunch of different information that I would want to see, right? So here's all the different questions that they have on this page. What's the purpose of the account health page, the rating, all of these different questions. Now, what I wanted to show you, this is directly from the other page, by the way. What is the account health rating? First off, which violations does the account health rating include? For a list of policies, go to policies included in the account health rating. So this page right here, these are all the different policies that they currently have. So Amazon has not changed any policies as a result of the AHR, and not all of Amazon's policies are currently included in the account health rating. For a full list, go to program policies, but these are the majority of them. So anti-counterfeit, Amazon brand name, intellectual property, fair pricing policy, ASIN creation, communication guidelines, customer product reviews policies, product condition guidelines, product detail page rules, product guidelines for adult products, product guidelines for selling software, restricted products policy, and selling policies and seller code of conduct. Now, they can always add to this in the future, and they will most likely create some sort of an email to let us know that they have added something. If they don't, though, this is where you could go to see that page if you're ever curious, and you can click through to see all their different policies for those things. Back to this frequently asked questions, here's what I wanted to show you. So what are the different severities of policy violations included? And they've got some examples, which I'll get to in a second, but critical are violations of this severity have serious and unacceptable impact on customers, or violate certain laws, regulations, or the rights of others. Any single violation with this severity immediately qualifies your account for deactivation. So to me, this is a scary thing to read. Now, while I said that this gives us a lot more visibility, it also gives us a little bit more, a little bit more fear in what Amazon means by this, because as we look at some of those more severe policy violations, if I scroll down and look at some examples, the product is counterfeit or pirated as determined via a test buy, which is interesting. They actually have to do a test buy and say that it was counterfeit or pirated. But ultimately, if you're selling legitimate products and you can prove it with receipts or invoices, you should be fine, right? Because you're selling a fully good product, a non-counterfeit product. Solicitation of product reviews or inclusion of non-compliant inserts. You need to make sure those inserts in your private label products or whatever else you're sending out is compliant with Amazon's terms of service. and then attempting to damage or abuse another seller. So I like that in the critical section, it says product is counterfeit as determined via a test buy. So a lot of brands, to get sellers off of a listing, will file counterfeit claims against them, but they will do it without a test buy so that they can ultimately get them off the listing. But then the seller gets the ability to fight against that, and it doesn't immediately qualify you for deactivation, because whenever they do a test buy, they actually have to prove that it's counterfeit to Amazon. So that's why it's a critical thing. So it's not as scary because the majority, especially for arbitrage sellers and wholesale sellers, the majority of them won't fall into these 3 examples. Now, I'm sure there's other things that could fall into that. Those are just examples, but it's still something to keep in mind, that whenever you read any single violation with this severity immediately qualifies your account for deactivation. Sounds scary, but most of these shouldn't apply to good sellers that are selling legitimate products and not trying to manipulate reviews in any way. The high category: given the negative impact these violations have on customers or the degree to which they may also violate applicable laws or regulations, our tolerance for high severity violations is minimal. So they have a low tolerance for those violations. So this means a rights owner submits valid notice of infringement, and that has to be a valid notice of infringement. So many times if you're doing arbitrage, it can be invalid if you're buying legitimate products, right? Or customer reports of infringing or counterfeit products. So this is the one that's a little bit scarier, although it's not one and done like it is for the critical issues. But sometimes you'll get customers that'll say a product is counterfeit because, I don't know, maybe they got a bad batch, or maybe they just wanted the refund, and so they said that it was a fake product, and you have to fight against it. Again, if you are buying legitimate products with receipts and invoices from authorized distributors, this is something you can combat and get removed from your account. And we have done it multiple times. Again, I recommend Jeff Schick or Scott Margolius, and there's other account health experts that can help you get those things removed from your account. The medium violations. Violations of this severity may significantly undermine customer and selling partner trust if they continue to occur over time. They continue to occur over time, in my opinion, is the key portion of that statement. So medium would be diverting customers away from Amazon to circumvent the sales process. So that's mainly private label sellers, maybe some wholesale sellers as well, or manipulating search results or sales rankings. I personally don't even know how to do that, so I'm not really worried about it. If you know how to do that, then stop it. That's all that I have to say. Low, we tolerate infrequent is key, low severity violations because we understand that mistakes happen in the course of doing business. So nice of you, Amazon. But some of those examples are customer reports a product they received is expired or in the wrong condition. For example, a used item being listed in new condition. So that's interesting because I always thought that a used sold as new claim was a worrisome one, one that Amazon weighted heavily. But in their eyes, it's a low claim, and or even expiration date issues. I thought it would be a little bit weighted heavier, but Amazon understands, according to their description, that these mistakes can happen. So as long as you're not getting a ton of them and you can properly address them, not much to worry about. The next example is the product detail page shows an incorrect product variation. Now, some violations are determined based on complaints from customers or notices from rights owners, and we go to great lengths to accurately assess the validity of these. If you think there is a mistake, please let us know by locating the violation on your account health page and following the guidance under next steps. So nothing's changed there. You're going to always be following that guidance under the next steps for addressing those violations. And then it says this table above does not include fraudulent, deceptive, illegal, or otherwise harmful activity. If we suspect that you have engaged in this activity, including any attempt to circumvent Amazon's systems, we may immediately deactivate your account regardless of your AHR score. This is done to protect customers, other sellers, and Amazon. Totally fine. Nothing has changed there. And talk about how they determine the severity, the degree to which the violation jeopardizes the customer experience, applicable laws and regulations, and the number of previous violations for that same policy. And then they go on to answer a bunch of other questions. What do you do if you incur a critical violation? How do repeat violations impact your score, etc.? I wish that they gave what the actual score ratings are. Let's see. I'm not going to read through the entire FAQ here. I will let you do that. Here we go. Will you share the formula of the AHR scores and the exact point values for violations? To calculate your AHR, all new sellers start with a score of 200. Points are deducted from your score each time we find a new policy violation and added back when you successfully address that violation. Point values for each violation are based on severity level and typically range from 2 to 8, though critical violations automatically bring your AHR score to 0. Also, well, that's interesting, right? A critical violation brings it to 0. That's huge. And so whenever we're talking about counterfeit products with a test buy, like I mentioned earlier, that means that they have to prove to Amazon that it is a counterfeit product, right? So most sellers don't have to worry about it if you're buying legitimate products from legitimate retailers that have invoices and or receipts. Also, if you violate the same policy multiple times, in some cases, negative point values double per repeat violation. To ensure your AHR is evaluated in context of the size of your business, you also gain 4 points for every 200 successful orders you fulfilled over the last 180 days. So you get quite a bit of leeway on this. In my opinion, 200 orders fulfilled over 180 days, that's not much. That's not much at all. And it's only a 1,000-point scale. Yeah, I mean, to get to 1,000 points, I guess that would be quite a bit. But ultimately, I don't know how to do the math off the top of my head. What would that be? 4 points for 200. So 400 to 1,000, that's 250. So 250 times 200. I don't know what that is, but y'all can do the math. I think it's 50,000 orders is my guess. So if I'm doing that right, it's either 5,000 or 50,000, which is pretty big. And I'm sorry I didn't prepare for that for this video. I just read that for the first time. We have not displayed the exact point values in the account health dashboard at this time as we focus on learning and inspecting these new features to ensure the AHR offers sellers a best-in-class solution to manage their account health. Our formula and point values may change in the future based on your feedback. We'll let you know if they do, and make sure you have the support you need from us to continue maintaining a healthy account. So, fairly simple process here. It's something that I am excited to see because I think it's going to help a lot of sellers, especially higher volume sellers that have been worried about it in the past, because you can build up those points a lot quicker with every successful order. Now, the only issue or caveat are those critical violations, but for the most part, good Amazon sellers don't have to worry about those things unless you accidentally buy a counterfeit product at like a garage sale or at some place that isn't an authorized distributor. But if you're getting it from a national or regional retailer, those are authorized distributors. And I highly recommend that you continue to save your receipts and your invoices so that you can be most prepared if you have to fight against some of those claims. So I hope that this helped you kind of get a better understanding of what's coming in the future. Do the math. I'm sorry I didn't have it off the top of my head. I'm not going to pause it and do the math and all of that. But it's 200 times 250 to get to 1,000 points. And then for every 200 orders, you get 4 points and you get a max of 1,000. So it's interesting. I'm going to put all those links below. If you want to read through all the FAQs and the whole policy, go ahead, sign it. You'll have to sign into your Seller Central account to be able to read those. And I'll also put a link to that article that I had mentioned earlier. All in all, I believe this is a good change for Amazon sellers to be able to have better visibility. I'm excited to be able to see that. And I think it's going to help, people like Scott Margolius and Jeff Schick, who I mentioned earlier. And again, I'll put links to their pages in the description. I think it's going to help them to be able to help you better as well. So we can see how big of a deal some of these things are. Maybe you pay for services on things that you need huge help with because it's a lot of points, but on those lower point ones, you try to fight them and combat them yourself. Or maybe you just, use a service of theirs to deal with all of them. It really just depends on what you're looking to do and how much work you want to do for the account health stuff. But hopefully this gives you a good idea. Let me know your comments below, your thoughts on this new policy. Did you like it? Figure out the math for me. Put it in there. I'll probably put it in the description anyway. But if you want, put the math problem, 250 times 200. I think it's 50,000 off the top of my head, but I could potentially be wrong, like way wrong. So anyway, I hope that this helped you and blessed you. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a blessed rest of your week.